Hi guys, this is a tutorial from electrogear.com.au. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to access the DVR camera system through your mobile device. Whether you have an Android or an iPhone or an iPad, you can view the cameras remotely, wherever you are, as long as you have internet. If you haven't already seen the last tutorial on how to set up the DVR with your network, I highly recommend it. There are many things that need to be set up before you should proceed with this tutorial. I'm going to show you where the settings are for mobile phone viewing. You won't really need to adjust them in this tutorial though. So what you want to do is go to the main menu, go to the advanced options, and then click on mobile. There are two fields here, mobile network, which we leave on 3G, and mobile port, which by default is 100. You can change this later if you want to, but for the purpose of this tutorial I recommend keeping them at 100. So just exit from here. The next step of this tutorial is that we need to set up port forwarding within our router. To help us understand port forwarding a little bit better, I've created this small illustration. You have a mobile device and you want it to send and receive data to your DVR. Now picture a line that separates these two devices. Anything that sits to the right of this line sees only your external IP address, which will look something like this. Anything to the left of this line sits within your network and sees only internal IP addresses. If you watched our tutorial on how to connect the DVR to your network, our internal IP address will look something like this. Now what helps us allocate the right data to the right device is your router. And what we use to help determine this is the port number. This can be any number, but for our tutorial we've used port 100. So we need to create a rule within our router that says any data that's coming or going through this port number gets forwarded to this device. And that's why we call it port forwarding. Before we can add this port forwarding rule into your router, we need to first identify the make and the model of it. In most cases you should be able to look at the physical router, and on the front or the back of it, it will give you an indication of the brand and also the model. If you can't access your router, then we can get this through the computer. In one of our previous tutorials on how to connect the DVR to the network, we saw how to get the default gateway using the command prompt window. We'll do this again now. We'll click on start and type cmd and type ipconfig. The information we needed was at the top under default gateway, which in this tutorial is 192.168.0.1. This set of numbers may differ depending on what brand you have. Now that we have these numbers, we go back to Internet Explorer or whatever web browser you're using, and in the address field we type these numbers in. This is going to bring up a dialog box asking for a username and password. In most cases, the username is admin and the password will vary depending on what brand of modem you have. If you don't know the username and password, you may need to contact the company who provided you with the modem to get this information from them. Once you log into the router, on the top of the page you should see the brand and also the model number. This particular example is a Netgear Smart Wizard model DGN2000. What we now want to do is go to Google and search port forwarding for Netgear router or something similar. This is going to bring up many hits with a lot of documentation on how to port forward with your router. In some cases, you may have a YouTube video that'll help as well. Whichever brand of modem you have, the result is still going to be the same. We have a port number and we have an internal IP address, and we need to link these two together. I've got an example here of a Netgear modem. In this example, you can see it has a port forwarding section in the advanced section of the settings. This is where we would set a service and then the internal IP address. For example, this service starts at this port and ends at this port, and then gets transferred to this IP address. This is a fairly new modem, so the settings for this is quite easy. Some older modems might be a little bit harder. Another example is this one here, where we have the port forwarding section in the firewall rules, and we have some services, and then we refer those to the internal IP address. This particular Netcom modem is a little bit different. The same rules apply though. You have to create a rule, which would be the port number, and then assign that to the local IP address, which is here. And again, for a Thomson router, you'd have the port number, which you assign here. It's under the game or application definition. And then once you've created this definition, you have to assign it to a local device, which is here. Now I'll go through with you how to set up port forwarding in the router that I'm using in this example. So we want to go back to our router settings, and then on the left menu, click on Services. We want to add a custom service, and in the name, we can use any name here, but I'll use DVR just for the example. The type we set to TCP/UDP. The start port is 100 and the end port is 100. Now some routers require an open range, so you may need to put 99 and 101 just to capture that full range. So click Apply. Then on the left menu again, we click on Firewall Rules. And you can see here we've got two rules, inbound services and outbound services. The one we're interested in is the inbound services, so we want to add. And the service name is already selected here as DVR. There are other services there, but this is the one we're interested in. The action will be allow always, and we want it to send it to the internal IP address for the DVR. Now if you don't know the internal IP address for the DVR, you may want to refer back to the tutorial on how to network your DVR. In our previous tutorial, the numbers were 192.168.0 and 10. Then click Apply. If you're unable to find any information or YouTube videos on how to port forward your router, you may need to contact the company you purchased the router from for assistance, or you may need to contact a network administrator. Now there's just one last piece of information that we need, and that's our external IP address. We need this when our mobile device wants to tap into the system. So to do this, there's a very simple way. We go to Google, and we search what's my IP address, and Google will give us a response, in this particular case, my IP address is 27.99.31.2. So we want to make a note of this. The next step of this tutorial is getting the application running on your mobile device. You can use an Android device as well if you download the app in the Google Play Store. For this tutorial, I'll be using an iPhone. So what I want to do now is go to the App Store, click on Search, and I want to search for KMEYE. This is going to bring up several results, but you want the first result. Now you can see I've already got this app installed. So I'm going to exit back out, and this is the icon here. Now I want to run this app. It's going to bring you to this page. And you want to click on the home button in the top right, and then device list here. Now we want to click on the plus sign at the bottom, and we want to adjust these settings. The name can be anything you want. I'll put home. The address is going to be the external IP address that we had earlier. So for this tutorial, it's 27.99.31.2. The port is 100, and the username is the same as what's on our DVR. By default, it is admin or lowercase. It is case sensitive, so watch out for that. You don't need anything in the password because we haven't set it, but you can change this later on if you want to, and select the number of cameras that you've got. I'll select 8 for this tutorial. Then you want to click Save, and then go back, and then Live View. So now when we press the play button, it's going to bring up a prompt, and we're going to select Home, and then select one of the channels. And this is going to bring it up. Now if I press another number at the bottom, it's going to change the camera that's being displayed, or channel 3. And you can see it running in the background as well. If I tilt the phone this way, the image changes over, then back over. And that's how you set up mobile viewing.